I love it that we have chosen this topic, spiritual partnership, for this entire month's focus, because, of course, with Covenant today, this is the ultimate commitment to spiritual community, to walk that path. And so it's really relevant. And I just love, didn't you love what Gary Zukov said? We're using Gary Zukov's book this entire month. This idea that spiritual partnership is about equality, about equalness, about showing up in without our personalities getting in the way, so that we have this harmonizing effect of equality. I'm going to share with you a couple of weeks ago when Father Leo was here. I want to tell you the energy of equality that this particular community emanates just by who we are as community. Father Leo told me that this community, and mind you, he's been around a long time, and he's been to a lot of communities. Matter of fact, he's at a community in Sacramento someplace today. He has spoken at a lot of communities, and he said that this community, more than any community he has ever seen, church community, demonstrates a lack of politicalness, a lack of competition, this equality of being. Celebrate yourselves through that. That is something, this spiritual partnership that allows us to show up on common ground and be equals. That's an amazing journey. That's an amazing experience for all of us. So today, as we are going to be approaching this covenant dedication, I'm going to be reading a brief little paragraph from a book that I love by Thich Nhat Hanh called Friends on the Path, Living in Spiritual Community. And what I know about this, those of you who know the story of the ox herding pictures, where we go on this spiritual journey, this seeking, the ultimate aspect of the seeking process for our spiritual journey, which is why I've chosen this image behind me, this path that we're all on, toward this incredible radiance and this light. What happens with this is that we have an opportunity to share with one another the beauty and the grace of who we are in a way that lets us grow each other, lets us be a beneficial presence for each other. So what Friends on the Path tells us is that the Buddha says that the only way to do this is to come together, to be together with one another in community. Now, that can look a lot of different ways. It could be AA, it could be any number of 12-step communities, it can be family, as long as there's an intention to be there as beneficial presence and a way for each other to grow through it. But what Thich Nhat Hanh says is that when we have this intention, this commitment to a spiritual path, to actually grow into our authentic power, which is about this opening into the knowing of who we really are, this essence of our true identity. When we have that, we need good spiritual friends. We need friends that see us as equals. We need friends that know who we are, and we need to know who those friends are. And he says good spiritual friends are willing to share the time and the energy necessary to practice healthy ways of living, to discuss spiritual ideas and concepts, to look deeply into their feelings and emotions before judging and before reacting. They make themselves available to each other, not only in good fun times, but when challenges arise as well. They see what is best in others and try to encourage and help each other transform suffering. That's what we're here to do for each other. They refrain, and this is a big one. True spiritual partnership includes the idea that we refrain from watering negativity that encourages weakness in others. We find the strength and we water that. The Buddha is asked how we might become good companions and members of our spiritual communities, these spiritual partnerships. And his reply, commitment to spiritual growth a commitment to do your own work, a commitment to be on a path that will take you into awareness of your highest and best self. That's what it's about. That's what benefits you and benefits everybody else, is this commitment to live an examined, awake, aware life. Spiritual awareness is the only way to become true friends on the path. And I believe that. I believe that. Because that's what helps us put our personalities, boy, don't we have those personalities? We've got all that ego stuff that gets in the way. But when we truly know who we are, we have the capacity to put that aside, to see each other and to be with one another, to live our divinity, to be in an alignment with the highest and the best, the true, the good, and the beautiful within ourselves. And see that outpictured in everybody else. To see that, see. So one of the invitations that Gary Zukov gives us is this. Does anybody wonder what you're committed to? Have you really wondered, what am I committed to? Well, he says, all we need to do is look around ourselves to see what we're committed to. Just take a look around your life. How's your life look? How does your life look? Is it filled with discord? Is it filled with anger? Is it filled with fear? Is it filled with love? Is it filled with sharing? What's your life look like? Because whatever your life looks like is what you're committed to. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? So I started to think about my own life and take a look at just the past week, really. Look at the past week and see, okay, what was I committed to this week? You know? Because what I know is that whatever we're committed to, whatever that is, whether it's conscious, and by the way, a lot of our commitments, they're unconscious. Stuff is out picturing in our lives without our permission, and we're not even conscious of what we're committed to. Do you understand what I'm saying about that? We're committed to things that don't serve us well. And so whatever we're committed to is going to shape our experience. It's going to create the consequences that show up in our life. And so I was looking around my week, and I started looking at the way things were out picturing. Yesterday in particular, last week I talked about the family friend who died of an overdose, and my going there and being present with the family at 3 in the morning and how that all looked. Well, as it turns out, this family's commitment, there are 2 people left in that family, a father and a daughter and a little grandson. That's it. That's it. There was no one else available. They didn't have a commitment to loving relationships within family. The mother of the dead lady is estranged. The brother of the lady who died is estranged. Very difficult situation. And so yesterday, my beautiful mother, my family in our home, we ironically ended up doing the memorial reception at our home. So I looked at what that is. Commitment to cooperation. I went to the funeral, Mom stayed home and prepared the entire party. My children were present, my grandchildren were present. I'm committed to this idea of sharing what I have, the idea of supporting one another, the idea of bringing comfort and peace and, this sense of love to experiences. That's what my life was about yesterday. My mother, her commitment is to loyalty, to being, 100% present, to do what she can do to alleviate suffering, to help, to share, to support. I'm looking at, it's not so much about what we have or what we do in life as far as our occupation. It's who we are that is the greatest commitment that we make. How we show up, how we live our radiance and our divinity. And so it calls us to question the way we live our lives, to examine what our commitments are. What am I committed to? That wasn't the easiest journey yesterday, doing all of that and preparing a talk and all of those other things and asking my mother to help and getting everyone involved. That wasn't the easy way out. But I have a commitment. And when I examine what my commitments in life are, it's easy for me to see how they outpicture. I don't know everything. And I'm not sure what all my commitments are. But if I live an examined life, I can find out what's important to me. And if I'm doing things in my life that are not showing up beneficial to me or other people, I can take a look at that and choose again, like Glenda said. So I dedicate myself to this spiritual path. It's real clear to me. It was never my intention. 8 years ago, I was just doing my own thing. I was just running my own little life. 8 years ago, the level of commitment that I have to this community wasn't even a thought in my mind. Not even a thought in my mind. And so what I know is, when we make these commitments, we can't decide in advance how it's going to show up. All I know is that I've had a lifelong commitment to being a beneficial presence and to supporting people. And this is how it showed up. Amazing. This is how it shows up. I have to be willing to let go of my narrow definitions of my life. Oh, that's, are you kidding me? I can't do that. That's not going to fit. But what I know is, when I make that commitment and step into the way it out pictures the consequences of my commitment, this is where my true self, like Glenda's tree, this is where my true self gets burned, bananas and all. Bananas and all. And this is where I get to integrate all of those qualities that I identify as qualities of the divine, the love, the harmony, the kindness, the gentleness, the support, the loyalty, the trust. You can fill in the words, those of you who are living the words from your sacred commitment at Common Ground. The patience, the faith, the awe, all of those things, the serenity. When we make that commitment to embody those things in our lives, all those qualities of the divine, we discover ourselves fully embracing and fully engaged and fully part of life, not separate from it. And so much of the time when we're talking about spiritual practice, we're talking about something specific, sitting on a yoga mat. We're talking about going on a silent retreat. We're talking about doing so many, prayers a day. We're talking about the mantras. No, no, no. Spiritual practice and spiritual path is not specific. It's all-encompassing. And it shows up every single moment in a unique way, reflecting the qualities that we're committed to, reflecting the commitments that we've made to life. And what I know is that when we make these commitments, we can't hold anything back. Oh yeah, but not there. I can't be a beneficial presence there. Not there. Not that one. No, I can't love that person. No, I believe in non-judgment, but right now I'm going to be judging that. And by the way, like Glenda said, we give ourselves permission to fall off the wagon, so to speak. We give ourselves permission to be judgmental, to be unloving, to be unkind, to be harsh. And through living an examined life, we catch ourselves. We catch ourselves, and we bless ourselves when we misstep and we're unskillful. We bless ourselves, and we have a do-over. We have a do-over. That's part of the practice. See, if it wasn't a spiritual practice, it would be called spiritual I'm all done. And that is not the truth for any of us until our very last human breath. Then we're all done. But as long as we're in this body, we're never done. We got work to do. So this idea, in the Buddhist tradition, there's this idea of the 3 jewels of Buddhism. We understand the first jewel to be God, source, love, light, the Buddha, whatever that is. That's the first jewel. The second jewel, what they call the Dharma. But for us, it's the teachings, it's the spiritual principles. It's the ideas, the mission, the vision, the embracing humanity and expressing our divinity. It's that, the guiding principles that we live by. And the third jewel in the Buddhist tradition is Sangha, which is spiritual community, which is spiritual partnership, which is coming together as a beneficial presence to be present with each other so that we can grow together and we can become and realize the truth of who we really are. See, we are that. Nothing can take that away. But we're not always aware, and we're not always expressing and living that. I love what Thich Nhat Hanh says. He says, spiritual community, Sangha, it is the crucible of transformation. It's the place where we get to do our hard work. And it is the sanctuary for exploring the good, the true, and the beautiful in our life experience. Oh, I'm having a little trouble here. So this intentional community, this intention to be part of a spiritual partnership, however that looks for you, you know what? It's going to look different for every single one of us. It doesn't have to look any certain way. For some of us, it looks like a commitment to this spiritual community. For others of us, it looks like a deep commitment to the 12-step program. Yesterday at the memorial, there were very few people because this was a very isolated situation, a very isolated family. Deep drama, deep trauma. But among the biggest participants in this experience were AA members supporting the little girl and the husband of the little girl who are members of the 12-step program. Those are the people that were present. The intentional community that knows how to support each other, how to love no matter what. That's what it's about, see? So we have to look deeply at these things. And we have to look deeply together to see how we can benefit each other. We find ourselves when we're with each other. Do you realize that? We reflect ourselves from each other. Today, those of you who are coming into a covenant will be putting a jewel on Indra's net. And the story of Indra's net is a metaphor for this community. The idea is that we are each a jewel on God's net. And we each reflect all of the others in this community. That's what it's about. We reflect each other. So I want to invite you to look around. Look around your life. Look around the way your life is showing up. And ask yourself, what am I committed to? How's my life showing up? What are my commitments? What have I made a commitment to? And then ask yourself, how important in my life experience is it that I put making my spiritual growth a high priority? How important is that to set the intention to commit myself to rub off the rough edges, to refine my unskillfulness, to live my radiance? How are you living your everyday life? Is it reflecting those virtues and those qualities? Are you embodying that? Are you embodying the commitments that you've made at the highest awareness of yourself, at your most refined awareness? Are you embodying that, living that? How broad and how deep is your commitment to live a life that is beneficial not only for yourself, but for others? How broad and how deep are your commitments to spiritual partnership, to being present for each other on an equal basis, on an equal basis? So I hope today, while you've been here with us, that you have heard something, seen something, felt something that made a difference to you, that you can take with you, that you can use in the world. I'm grateful for your willingness to listen today.